Hello everybody, so today I'm just going to do a video showing you how to get away from using these kind of bits. So this is a Dremel sanding wheel, I think they call it. So it just mounts onto the end of this and you can use them for opal. I have not actually done this, I haven't even shown this technique on the channel yet. Just because I used it for a short period of time when I had my rotary tool, but I didn't have diamond bits or anything like that because the kit that the thing came with, this one back here somewhere, didn't have any diamond bits. You can see here, that discolored one, you can see the brown. So I've played with a piece of boulder with that one, and these are just corundum. But a lot of the bits that came with the kit weren't overly useful. These were the best things that I had at that time. So the sandpaper works, it works pretty well. It also came with these sanding discs. But the price of these and the rate at which you get through something like this is incredible. I mean, I was probably pushing too hard because I was just starting out. But at the same time, these don't last very long. The other issue is that these don't come in many grits. So in the kit it only comes with the one grit. So it was like this hardcore, I mean, I don't know what that is. It's probably like it's less than 200. Probably a bit over 100, so I'd say about a 120 grit. You kind of get used to that with your fingers after a while. And this is a bit finer, so that's probably a 240 odd grit. And if you want to buy the replacements, you don't really need to replace the mandrel very often, if ever. But the replacements for these are quite expensive. If you look at the Dremel branded stuff, these are like over $1.50 Australian, which is still like $1.10 US. Which doesn't sound like much, but when I show you how to make your own little discs like this, because even these discs can come out to be like $1 each if you go Dremel branded. I know you can get them cheaper online elsewhere, and I'd highly suggest that if you don't want to go through the trouble of making it yourself. But they're still quite expensive. So if you look at that and you say they're $1 each or a bit under, and then you can make your own based on this, this comes out to be less than 1 cent. So crunching the numbers, it comes out to be 1/8 of a cent. And how that works is, all you need is to buy yourself a sheet. So they're quite large sheets, a sheet of sandpaper, and if you look at the back here, I've already marked it out. So you've got, across the top, you can fit 14 discs by another 11. So quick maths, that's about 154, I might have got that wrong, but it's over 150 wheels you can cut from a single sheet. And this sheet costs about $1, less than that US. So yeah, mapping it out, and if you really want to be anal, you can mark out the center point. And all you need is a circle cutter. So it's this thing here. It looks a lot like your calipers. So you've got here on the bottom, let's get a bit of a zoom going. Here on the bottom, it's just like a compass that you'd use back in high school. I don't know if you ever used one outside of high school, but you've got this central pin, and then on the other side, you've got like a box cutter blade. And all you need to do is chuck that down in somewhere like your center point here. Make sure your distances are right, and you just do a light, well, you start off light, and you just do a couple revolutions. So you just spin, 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 spin. I'm not going to cut this one, but you just spin around and it cuts out a nice little hole. Here you can see one that I did earlier. So this is on the back of a, what is it? A 400 grit. So yeah, it's relatively quick, it's relatively painless, pretty simple. It doesn't come out the most even thing ever, but that doesn't matter because you're not cutting with the edge, you're cutting with the flat front surface. So you don't need to worry about this getting perfect. If you don't have a circle cutter, you could probably just use a pair of scissors, cut out each of those little squares that I had mapped out, and then just cut the edges off those. You could even just leave them as squares and have them spinning. It might look a bit funny, but it'll work. So yeah, these come out to 1/8 of a cent. And the size that I did, I modelled based on the ones that I got from the shop. So they're about 2 centimeters in diameter, or about 3/4 of an inch, I think, is the closest conversion US. So it's really easy, and the best thing about making your own, you can buy the entire range of sandpaper grits. So I typically buy all the way from 80, though 80 is a bit rough. You probably don't need that. Maybe just start with 120. But you can go from 80 all the way through to your thousands if you want to buy some automotive kind of sandpaper, high quality sandpaper stuff. And it still comes out to be like $1 a sheet. And the sheets are about 28 by 23 centimeters or 11 by 9 inches. So you can squeeze out 150 of these bad boys for $1 rather than paying $1 for a single sanding drum or sanding disc. I mean that's going off Dremel prices, but I'm sure I can buy this sandpaper for much cheaper as well. This is all just from my hardware store, local hardware store. And the other bonus is that these discs, actually, because you can go to such a fine grit, can compete with the Nova tips. So I still haven't found a resin tip that can compete with the Novas, but these sandpaper wheels, they can actually compete. I haven't done it for a long time just because of the hassle and because I've got the Nova tips that are lasting forever. You'll burn through these real quick. But they can actually compete with the Novas. So if you're not keen on buying Novas, you can go through the effort of cutting out your own discs, and you basically just chuck them all in Ziploc bags. Make sure you identify what grit they are because you'll lose it on the back here. And yeah, you'll be off to the races. You'll be flying along. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'll probably demonstrate a quick cut of one here. I might splice it in. But yeah, it's really easy, really quick, and it really is just like you're drawing a circle, but instead of drawing it, you're cutting it. Now the other thing is, when you're mounting them, you just mount them on the standard kind of mandrel like this. It's got 2 little washers here. That just pinches it in place and makes sure that you get a nice slip-free contact, because you are grinding this up against something. The only thing is with these that they're quite flimsy. So it's the same with the Dremel branded stuff. They are quite flimsy, like this. So what I did while I was using these is I put them back to back facing grits outwards. So 2 of the same grit. That way you can just grind on this side or you can grind on that side, whichever way is comfortable for you. And they're also solid enough. You can also put like a foam insert or something if you want that spongy but also resistive touch. Or at some points I actually, for the coarsest grits, I would actually back it with this corundum disc, and that way you've got that non-moving edge. Because if you don't want a rounded edge on your stone and you want a square edge, like if you were doing the back of a stone, you just chuck this, it's basically stone, like a whetstone kind of material, and then you've got a hard flat surface and it'll just grind away. If you find it slipping too much, you can also use a square of double-sided tape and just chuck it on. Stick it on like that, but I didn't find that problem at all. Maybe if you don't have these washers, you'll need to do that. But the washers kind of pinch them in place and there's just no slipping. So yeah, if you don't want Nova tips, these are definitely a good option and I suggest it. And I will probably go ahead and make a video using these just as an example. So I'll cut out some extra wheels and I'll make up some of these and just carve a quick opal, and you'll be able to use that as reference to see how they go. But if you can get a high enough grit sandpaper, I think the highest I've got right now is 2,500. But if you can go even higher than that, you can actually compete with the Novas quite well. So yeah, that'll do it, and I will see you in the next video.